Hey everybody, it's Chris, and today we're going to talk about a little bit of a shorter topic. I want to talk about the mirror image spell and how it's been changed in 2024. And I would say, just to begin with, if you don't want to watch the whole video, it's a lot better now than it used to be, but not in every way. And I do want to talk about a little trick that used to work with the old mirror image and does not work anymore. And I'm going to explain why. All right, so first let's talk about the old mirror image. So this is the version that appeared in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and the way it worked is action to cast, lasted a minute, and you got 3 mirror images, and every time you were attacked, you could roll a d20, and depending on how many images you had left, you would have a certain target number. So you would either need to roll a 6 or higher, an 8 or higher, or an 11 or higher if you only had one image left. But if you rolled the correct number, then the attack would target the image rather than you. And then if it attacked the image, then it had to hit the image with an armor class of 10 plus your dexterity modifier, which, unless you are completely unarmored and have no unarmored defense, would be a lower armor class than your character, potentially significantly lower than your character. And then each time an image was hit, it would be destroyed. So you would go from 3 images to 2 images to 1 image. And then once that final image was hit, the spell was over, or the minute ran out and the spell was over. Now, because mirror image is an illusion, if a attacker was blinded, or they had blind sight, or they had true sight, then they were unaffected by the mirror image. So if they attacked you, you didn't get to roll the d20. Now, I always liked the old mirror image. I'd usually take it if it was available, at least at some point, not always immediately. That's because sometimes you could get a chance to maybe put it up before combat and a second level spell slot, depending on your level, but certainly by tier 2 isn't that big a resource, and it would add to your layers of defense. And it wasn't using up your concentration, so it wouldn't really impact you in combat in any negative way, only in a positive way. However, if you were in combat, I didn't see a lot of point in casting it unless you didn't know what to do with your turn. Because if you cast it, that was your action. And so no other spell that turn. And even if you were a sorcerer and you had quicken spell, well, then you're increasing the resource cost because you have to quicken it as well. And if you cast a spell as a bonus action, then you only had a cantrip that you could cast with your action. So it really limited what you could do. Certainly not something you want to be doing on round 1. On round 1, you want to do something impactful to the enemy, not, layer a minor layer of defense on yourself. But nevertheless, because you could occasionally cast it outside of combat, I usually consider it a pretty good investment. So thematically, the new one's the same. You're going to spend an action, you're going to cast a spell, and 3 illusionary duplicates of you swirl around you that maybe your enemies hit instead of you. So from that aspect, it's the same. It still doesn't use concentration, and it still lasts a minute. Here's the differences. It says each time a creature hits you with an attack roll during the spell's duration, roll a d6 for each of your remaining duplicates. If any of the d6s roll a 3 or higher, one of the duplicates is hit instead of you, and the duplicate is destroyed. The duplicates ignore all other damage and effects. The spell ends when all 3 duplicates are destroyed. A creature is unaffected by the spell if it has the blinded condition, blind sight, or true sight. So the whole thing about blinded and blind sight and true sight is the same as before. The differences are the mechanics on how it's treated when you are attacked. With the old version, what would happen is they would attack you, you would roll the d20, and if you rolled high enough, then they would attack a duplicate instead. Not the case anymore. Now they attack you, so they're using your armor class. And then it's not until after they hit you that you can switch over a duplicate. The other main difference, of course, is how it's determined whether a duplicate is hit. Before it was a d20 that's scaled based on how many duplicates you had left. Now you're going to roll a d6 for each duplicate, and as long as one of those rolls is a 3 or higher, then a duplicate is hit. Which means, just like before, your chance of a duplicate being hit is higher the more duplicates you have. The reason why this is so much better is because before, if they ended up targeting a duplicate instead of you, it was just almost automatic that it would be hit. Now they have to hit you. That means you could even use things like Blade Ward or the Shield spell to reduce their chance to hit you, and as long as they miss, then you hold on to your duplicates. Though we should probably also discuss the odds. With the old version, we could determine the odds of a duplicate being hit very easily because it was just a d20 roll. So if you had 3 duplicates, you needed to roll a 6 or higher. That meant there was a 75% chance they would hit a duplicate. If you had 2 duplicates, then you had to roll an 8 or higher, and that meant there was a 65% chance they would hit a duplicate. And then if you only had 1 duplicate left, you needed to roll an 11 or higher. That meant there was a 50% chance they would hit a duplicate. Now we can still figure out the odds to hit a duplicate with the new version. It's just now going to require a calculator. So with the new version, we're rolling d6s, and the odds to determine what you would roll on a d6 aren't that hard. And in this case, we're always looking for a 3 or higher, which means a 1 or 2 fails, and a 3, 4, 5, or 6 succeeds. In other words, there's 2 chances in 3 you'll succeed on a d6, which is 66.6 repeater percent, or 67% if you want to round off. That means that your chance of failing is 100 minus 67, or 33% chance of failure, approximately. Little bit higher than 33%. So what are the odds of failing if we have 2 duplicates? Well, we just take our chance of failure, which is 33%, and multiply it by our chance of failure, which is 33%. And we can see we have about an 11% chance of failure. That means we have an 89% chance that it hits a duplicate if we have 2 duplicates left. And if we have 3 duplicates left, then we're just going to multiply by the 33% again. And now we see we have about a 4% chance of failure, which means there's a 96% chance that it hits a duplicate if we have 3 duplicates left. So if we compare our 2014 chance and our 2024 chance, we can see the chance of a duplicate being hit now is significantly higher than it was in 2014. That means mirror image is more reliable. And add on the fact that the mirror image is going to be harder to hit in the first place because it's attacking your armor class instead of 10 plus your dexterity modifier, means that the mirror images are going to be destroyed less often. So you're going to hold this spell more, and it's going to work more often. It just makes it a better spell. Another way I like the spell more is simple design. I am pretty good for memorizing the rules, so I had a lot of the 2014 rules straight memorized. You could call out a spell and I could probably tell you the range right away. The one thing I always had to look up was mirror image, because you had that d20, but the result that you needed on the d20 changed based on the number of images. So it was just always something you had to look up. What do you need to roll when you have 2 images? Well, it might be 8, but I'm not sure. Better look it up. Now, with 3 or higher on the d6s, you're going to roll as many d6s as you have mirror images. I just think this is easier to remember. But as I said in the video, there is one way this mirror image spell is worse than the one before, and that is because there was a little trick you used to be able to do that I don't think you can do anymore, and I'm going to explain it. So this is the old Sentinel feat. So this is the Sentinel feat as it appeared in the 2014 Player's Handbook. It said you mastered the techniques to take advantage of every drop in an enemy's guard, gaining the following benefits, and we're only interested in the third one. And the third bullet point says, when a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against a target other than you, and that target doesn't have this feat, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the attacking creature. If we look at the old mirror image, and I'm just going to highlight the sentence we're looking at. Each time a creature targets you with an attack during the spell's duration, roll a d20 to determine whether the attack instead targets one of your duplicates. Meaning, if you rolled a d20 and you rolled the correct amount, then the target wasn't you anymore. The target was your duplicate. So they're making the attack on a target that's not you. The target is now the image. And the image does not have the Sentinel feat. So therefore, the Sentinel feat would give you a reaction attack against that attacker. So even if you're the only one there, the enemy would attack you, you roll your d20, it's going to attack a mirror image instead. So Sentinel goes off and you get a reaction attack. This was particularly nice for something like, Arcane Trickster Rogues, because they could get Mirror Image through their subclass, and then if the enemy ended up targeting one of the images and the rogue had the Sentinel feat, they could make an off-turn attack, which potentially could be a sneak attack. And I don't think this works anymore, so I'm going to bring up the Sentinel feat from 2024. And I've highlighted the correct bullet point, and it's now titled, it says Guardian. Immediately after a creature within 5 feet of you takes the disengage action or hits a target other than you with an attack, you can make an opportunity attack against that creature. So it does still say if, they hit a target other than us with an attack, then we get the reaction attack. So does Mirror Image fit this requirement? Well, now it no longer says that the attack targets the image. It says if any of the d6s roll 3 or higher, one of the duplicates is hit instead of you. So the question is the duplicate a target? Well, fortunately, and this wasn't the case in 2014. In 2014, what target meant was basically just general English. You could look it up in a dictionary. Now we have the rules glossary, and it tells us exactly what qualifies as a target. So here are the rules for what qualifies as a target. A target is the creature or object targeted by an attack roll, forced to make a saving throw by an effect, or selected to receive the effects of a spell or other phenomenon. So in order to be a target, it has to fulfill one of 3 criteria. Was it targeted by the attack roll? No. Mirror Image is triggered each time a creature hits you with an attack roll during the spell's duration. So you were the target of the attack, not the Mirror Image. What about the second point? Was the Mirror Image forced to make a saving throw? No. And was the Mirror Image selected to receive the effects of a spell or other phenomenon? Because maybe the attack was with a shocking grasp or something like that. Well, was the Mirror Image selected? Because that's what it says, that you have to select it. No. The selection was you. You were the one they were trying to, do the shocking grasp or the chill touch or whatever it was against, and it just didn't work out that way, and instead they hit the Mirror Image instead of their target. So, no, the Mirror Image is definitely not a target according to the rules glossary. So a target other than you was not hit because the Mirror Image was not a target, which means that the Sentinel feat no longer provides you the reaction attack. And I mainly did this video because I had more than one question asking if this trick still works in the 2024 rules. No, it does not. That said, the new Mirror Image spell I still think is the superior spell. It just now works more intuitively. This unintuitive interaction that, kind of messed around with the wordplay no longer works, and a lot of stuff is clarified in that way. And Mirror Image is one of those cases. So Mirror Image and Sentinel no longer work in an unintuitive way, but in Mirror Image is still well worth the spell slot. So if you're still watching this video at this point, thank you very much, you hero. And if you want to be an even greater hero, you can help support this channel. If you like this kind of content, I have a Patreon link in the video description, and I want to thank some of my patrons right now. Today we're thanking Archmage level patrons. Thank you to Shura, Astonish, Awesome Face, BG4711, Brandon Sargent, Christophe, Condor, Cinnamon, Dash Panther, David Lotz, David W. Skibbins, Eric H., Grizzly Badger, Homowa, Hunter, Ido, Isaac Leister, James Thomas, Jean-Baptiste Blanchette, Jeremy Brown, Jonathan Lexi, Justice Valdez, Keche Aurelio, Kevin Casey, Crosidian, Quoth, Matt Schwobel, Migish, Reichenstahl, Rysquy, Starfall, Stephen Edmondson, TUM, The Al Gore Rhythm, Tim Loy Moeller, and Trex. Thanks so much for your support. And until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.